Let's speak now to retired Principal Stephen Price, and he joins us now via our video link. Mr. Price, thank you so much for joining us this evening here in SABC News. When you got the call and you were asked to return and come and help the school, what would you say made you say yes?
Good evening. Thank you very much for the invite. I think for me, having had a career of 40 years in teaching, it was a professional responsibility and a personal privilege for me to be invited to be the principal of Lotus High. And so I didn't hesitate at all. It was an opportunity to give back. I'd been in a very high-performing school at Bergfleet High, and now to test my skills in an environment which was a school in a sub-economic area, certainly drew their kids from a sub-economic area, to test my skills there and to bring some sort of hope and change into the school.
And what was it about the school that you deemed very important to go and assist with?
I think when I arrived, I saw it was a really desperate situation. I really struggled with the sort of lack of work ethic, the children just running around the school. They didn't wear uniform properly. There was just ill discipline, and nothing that I was trying to bring about was working, simply because there were no basics. So after a month or two, I realized that I had to really just go back to basics and bring in, get to school on time, stay in class, wear a uniform, greet people, just literally the basics, so we could actually function in a normal school day. Because the children would just arrive at 10:30 in the morning, 11 o'clock. They would just, saunter in as if it was normal business. And we had to create a very different environment. So that was the first thing that struck me when I got there, was this really sort of, I don't want to say lawlessness, but just a complete abandonment of the academic program, and they're just doing what they wanted.
And it really sounds like it was a difficult task at hand. And one would ask, what went into changing and impacting the school for the better to see these results that they have now produced?
Yeah, I think the very first thing I did was, we had to identify the June results of this particular cohort. Last year's cohort was a pass mark of 32%. That was desperate. That was, 68% of the children were failing in matric at that point. And so I sat down during the school holidays once I'd been given the task of opening the school. So before I even arrived at the school, I analyzed the matric results. I identified the 28 learners that were failing. We then identified 14 of whom were these are the ones that we could fix. These are the ones that we knew which subjects they were failing, what we had to do, and we really spent a lot of time getting them sorted out. The other 14 who were a little bit more desperate, we had to do other things. So we targeted the two groups. Obviously, the group that had passed, we supported them. So there's roughly 14 who passed, 14 who could probably pass, and 14 who were going to fail, at that particular point. Bachelor's passes were non-existent. I think we had one. So we really put an intensive program, and it was motivating my staff, and they were brilliant. My staff were excellent. They were a combination of young and well-established teachers. They were all committed to the task. Once they saw the vision, they were able to do it. And we pulled out all the stops every weekend, every afternoon, back on track lessons, all sorts of lessons, motivational talks at assemblies, individual one-on-one sessions with the teachers, just to get these matrics to believe in themselves. And we were targeting a 50%. That was our target. And when we hit 49.9% or 49% in the September exams, I quietly thought, 60% was reachable, but I was too scared to say it out loud. So we concentrated on our 50%. And when we got our 65%, we were ecstatic. eight or nine four bachelor's passes. We had 14 diploma passes, and that was up by a significant number. And then 4 learners who had got higher certificates, and we were so chuffed with that. So yeah, it was literally identifying, targeting, and a hell of a lot of hard work.
What would you say that you did differently in the school that was not being done before, and just generally your overall secret to success to ensuring that this school does indeed succeed and turn things around?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So what did I do differently? For me, there were 3 parts to the answer. The first was in 2012 when I visited the Royal Bafokeng people, and the King of the Bafokeng gave a talk on a new school that he had built, Lebone 2, in just outside Rustenburg in Northwest Province. And he delivered excellence to his people. He needed to show his people what excellence looked like. And when I returned to my school at Bergfleet, our vision was a world-class education. So we didn't talk about excellence, but we talked about a world-class. And I set about, at the 10 or 12 years that I was principal at Bergfleet, getting people to understand what world-class, what we were delivering at Bergfleet, which was world-class. And then when I arrived at Lotus, we weren't delivering excellence, we weren't delivering world-class, but the vision of the Western Cape Education Department is delivering a quality education for every learner in every school in the province, in every classroom, in every school in the province. And I realized that I had to show my staff and the teachers what quality education was all about and show real stuff. We were using chalkboards. We put whiteboards into the classrooms. We tiled the classroom areas, which looked like jail corridors. They were terrible. The front foyer of the school was full of press stick and plastic stuff on the walls. It just looked shoddy and terrible. And so what we did was the staff room was abysmal. It was a place where the staff couldn't wait to get out of. And I needed to show my staff, I needed to show my parents, I needed to show my admin people, and I needed to show my learners that they deserved more by showing them what quality looked like. And so that's what I spent the whole of December doing. When the teachers went on holiday, I stayed there for the whole month. And with a whole bunch of local service providers, we completely revamped the front foyer, the classroom areas. We brought in some new sports equipment, basketball poles, all sorts of things. And just to allow these children and the teachers and the whole school to see what a quality education looked like, because we weren't delivering it at Lotus at the time.
And Mr. Price, what advice would you give to other struggling schools who would one day look at themselves and see their schools improving to becoming like a Lotus High School?
Yeah, for me, I think the crucial thing is, this whole story of Lotus isn't about me. It's about these children at Lotus High. They needed to believe in themselves, but they needed someone to believe in them, to give them hope. Because you see, when you, and this is our motto for this year, is greater expectations, greater success. When I spoke to some of the teachers, it was like, oh, these are just kids. They're not going to deliver. Our expectations of them were very low, and they delivered on those very low expectations. So you've got to believe in a kid. You've got to believe in a learner. You've got to believe in a child that they will give you more. You've got to expect more from them. You've got to demand more from them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we have to do as teachers. You've got to demand the discipline. You've got to expect the uniform to be worn properly and with pride. You've got to expect decent work to being delivered, and that work being delivered on time. And if you don't expect that, then they won't give it to you. And so as we started, as a staff, we changed our mindset to start expecting more from our learners.
All right.
And as a result of that, they started to give us more. And I think that's what any school can do. You've got to expect more from the children that are sitting in front of you, no matter how hard their circumstances are. And we're sitting with gangsters on either side of our school. It's not as if we're in a safe area, but we could still expect more from our children. Be on
Right.
school on time, wear your uniform with pride, wear a tie, deliver quality work. That's what you needed to do.
Stephen, thank you so much for your time this evening. That is Stephen Price. He is the retired principal from Lotus High School, just giving us tips there on how he went about in improving the pass rate at Lotus High in the Western Cape.